Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again. Here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video talking about when do I think they will eventually kill Rick Grimes off of the Walking Dead television series. Alright, so a few people asked me if I think the Walking Dead television series and comic book series could work without Rick Grimes. Now, to answer that question very simply, and what the topic of this video is going to be is, yes, I do think that the TV show would work without Rick, and the comic book series would too, and I think eventually we're going to see that happen. We're going to see eventually Rick Grimes die in the TV series and in the comic book series. Why I say that is basically because to do some predictions, and I think the overall long-term story of The Walking Dead, I believe the reason why Robert Kirkman chose Rick or created the character Rick for us to follow is because I do believe that in the long span of things, in the comic book series and in the TV show, eventually I believe Rick is going to put together, or over time is going to create a huge group of survivors and basically restart civilization. And as we see that happen, we will eventually see those characters form a humongous group over time and just grow and grow and grow and sort of become a resistance to the zombie apocalypse. True survivors that are starting to take ground back from the dead, starting to progress and really jumpstart humanity over again in the zombie apocalypse world. I think that's the long-term reason why Rick is a character that we follow and where Kirkman's going to go with him eventually. Now, here's the thing. The comic book series, we're starting to see the beginning of that, I would say, with the whole Negan story arc thing. At least from what I'm thinking. Now, these are all predictions. None of this is confirmed. It's just my thoughts on where the series is going. I could be totally wrong. But at some point in time, after Rick gets that started, probably defeats Negan and maybe some other things after that with possibly sections of the group fighting against each other or characters trying to take over lead from Rick or things like this, I do believe eventually Rick will be killed. I'm saying that I think it's probably going to be in the TV series somewhere around, if we get there, probably seasons, I want to say somewhere around 8 through 15, let's say. Now, I know that's a pretty broad, that's a lot of seasons, but I'm thinking around that time frame is when Kirkman's eventually going to kill Rick off. Now, the reason why it works really nicely in the TV show is because during that time, Carl, or Chandler Riggs, who plays Carl, is going to eventually probably be about, let's say, I don't know how old he is now. I think when he started, he was about like 11, 12, 13, something like that, 14. In about another 5 or 10 years, he's going to be out of the teenage years. He's going to be a young adult. He's going to be like 20 or, whenever, depending on what season you're talking about, somewhere around 17 through 30, 25, depending on how far the show lasts and how long it's on AMC for, which I think will be a long time based on the current ratings, and I don't see it going away anytime soon. So that said, I think that's eventually where they're going with it, and then I think when they kill Rick off, Carl will, of course, be taking over as our lead. Of course, we'll have other characters that are still around, too, from the TV series and the comic book series. But I do think that's where we're headed eventually. And not only do I think it can work, I think it will. I think it will, because eventually, after 10 or 15 seasons of seeing Rick all the time as our lead, it's going to get to the point where we're starting to be more interested in other characters. We've heard Rick's story, and we've already seen a lot of this already, sort of the withdrawing from the concentration on Rick so that we have more concentration on other characters in the series, and he's not always, at the front of it. We've seen the stuff with Lori where that was a huge impact, Shane, huge impact, Judy and Carl and all that. But eventually we're going to get to a point where I think they're going to we're going to start to see less and less of Rick and more of other characters like Carl and like the others taking over some time on the show, just due to the fact that, we can't spend 10 or 15 seasons with one character. They're going to have to spend more time with others. So to answer the initial question, yes, I think eventually it will work, and I think we're going to see it. Of course, there's going to be the spin-off series too, so Obviously, that's not going to have Rick in it. I don't think Rick Grimes himself embodies the whole idea or the concept of The Walking Dead. He's our lead. He's our protagonist, of course, for the comic book series and the TV show. But I don't see it as it can't work without him, or like he is The Walking Dead by himself. Especially because we're going to have the spin-off and everything that's happened, and that over time, I think eventually we're going to see Carl take over that role, or other characters from the group as well. And I do believe eventually Rick will die. Yes, I think so. I just think it's that Kirkman has some great things in store for him, and some great things for him to do for people and for this society that I think he's going to really put together and build before he dies off. So it'll be a way, it'll be a ways ahead. It's not like it's going to be, season 4, season 5, season 6. No, I think it's going to be, well down the road, 8, 9, 10, somewhere through that to 15, when Shay and the Rings is old enough to take over as the main protagonist. That is, if we get there and the show doesn't get canceled in the meantime. And to do another prediction, I think we will get there. So those are kind of my thoughts on when eventually they will kill Rick and whether or not they will. I think they will. I do. Now, will it be in the comic book series or the TV series first? That's a good question. I think the TV series is going to pass the comic book series within the next few years. Within about maybe season 7, season 8, I think we're going to run into a problem where they're at like the same point. And then they have to decide what we're going to do. Are they going to, take the TV show and go a different route as the comic, or, totally different? Because it's going to surpass it. And then they're going to have to write for the TV series while the comic falls behind in the story. So eventually I do think that's going to happen. So I think we'll probably see Rick die in the TV series before the comic. Just a prediction, because I think it'll pass it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this topic. I know it's kind of hard to picture, picturing The Walking Dead without Rick. But another series, if you guys haven't checked out, that's really cool to see, where you see a protagonist that you start off with, and he doesn't end up being the protagonist all the way through, is Game of Thrones. If you guys haven't seen that. And I think it works really well in that, and I think in The Walking Dead, when we eventually see the death of Rick, which I think we will, I think it's going to work even better, because we'll feel as a viewer like he's accomplished everything he wanted to, and he was a great survivor, like the greatest survivor. And that's the reason why we follow him over the long term. He's the one that was the leader and started and made the decisions to make this humongous society, of hundreds or thousands of survivors in a zombie apocalypse come together. And I think eventually that's his purpose as a character. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about that, what your predictions are for the long term, where you think Kirkman's going with the story, and when you think they'll kill Rick, or if you don't think they will, write in the comments below, say, no, I can't picture it. I don't think they'll ever kill Rick. I think they will. Anyway, I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace.